Download.
Dynamite Download, your home for all positive coverage on all elite wrestling. Special event, as you can see, SPD about this Cleveland-born badass.
To see the height and to see the commitment and to see the drive. We'll see yours truly without a signature shade. SPD once again. January recruitment month for the
You know, I come along in the
I did do that. I was thinking
Dynamite, we are here all three in the flesh.
Have to do an interview with those guys. You know why? Because they spread positivity about AEW.
Welcome to Dynamite Download.
What's
up?
Event. We got our guy Bonzi back, y'all.
Hey.
It's gonna be a good one, man.
You're not watching a repeat. It is true. Booking by Bonds is back, baby, and it's good to see you, man.
New and improved.
Missed you
Good
on
to
the
see you guys
screen.
too.
And the Dukes of Dynamite are reunited at last again, sipping that Dynamite Download cup right there and cheersing it with the Dynamite Download mug.
And my
Available.
blue water for energy.
Yeah, that's
Hey,
right.
man,
You got
blue
your,
water.
your
That's the good
haterade
stuff,
for sure.
dude. Love that, man. Good. Welcome back to the crew, Bond.
Thank you.
It's good to have you. Last time we chat to now, a lot has changed. The landscape has changed. And
love to change the
SPD and I
landscape
were
here.
just talking about this last week as we were heading into, the go home episodes
Yeah.
of AEW television here. We are right on the precipice of Double or Nothing. And man, a lot has been circulating online about how much has changed in such a short period of time. 3 years, how crazy the cards have changed since the first Double or Nothing to this one. A lot of new talent. SPD, you got it right there, dude. I mean, it is unbelievable.
Look at the main events.
Different faces that are on this show compared. I mean, it's wild.
I almost
see
have to
how-
take the shades off for this one. That is an
Get in there.
exclusive right there.
Wow,
You have to-
that's fantastic. Incredible to show the progression of how far this company has come, man.
Yeah, and some people who have come and gone, and a lot of people obviously have came, and few have gone. And Bonds, I know something's been on your chest or maybe like on your neck or something that you might want to share with us just to kick things off as we're
Speaking of gone,
as we're starting to roll. It's gonna be
Yeah.
a fun night talking this a massive pay-per-view. But before we get into the meat and potatoes of AEW, you got anything to have to say that's on your chest? I mean, you've been off Dynamite download television for a while. So what's up, man?
well, you people know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here. Okay. See, I'm an avid music listener, okay? It's one of my Shakespearean passions. I love it. And you may recognize this quote from the Steve Miller Band, and it always stuck with me. Take the money and run. Okay? Hold on.
Oh, the tears are coming.
If I had any doubts, those evaporated the second SPD and Crayfish offered me a giant stack of cash.
It's all yours, Bonds.
So for tonight, my one night back with the Dynamite Download crew officially,
Oh God.
I'm going to make Steve Miller Band proud. Okay? So thank you for having me back.
We're so proud to have you, man.
Thank you, man. That means a lot.
Embrace the nightmare. I love it. I love having you back. And honest to God, dude, the amount of it's awesome to have you here with us, buddy. And I know you've been dying to break out your best Cody impression. So
thank you. It wasn't as good as I expected, but it was better than I thought it would be.
Hey man, the neck tattoo, is a beautiful thing.
Thank you.
Beautiful
I didn't
thing.
do his perfect neck tattoo, but this is real, by the way. I got this just for this bit.
Oh,
That's
okay.
awesome, dude.
Yeah.
That's dedication right there, bro.
That
Holy
is.
smokes,
I am
that's
dedicated.
amazing,
That's what they always say about me.
bro. Now that we got the introduction out of the way, we're grateful that you joined us, Bonds.
Yes.
I think SPD and I both agree. The amount of different, how jam-packed this show is. It's really important to have that third voice in here because
He's true.
SPD and I we tend to split a lot of times, heel and face,
know.
and
That's
it's
the
good to
thing.
have that tiebreaker. Bonds is the tiebreaker, so
Yeah, but he's more team heel. You know, you got him.
well, that's why I love having Bonds join us, man. But
I'm the tiebreaker.
Let's get into the first.
Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna wind our way through Double or Nothing, guys. So those of you who joined us, we really appreciate you joining us. Give us your predictions while you're in the chat. Let's go back and forth here. But
fill out those bingo cards. Tag us online. We love to see them. It's one of our favorite parts of the pay-per-views season. You know, I'll never forget our All Out preview show when we were live in Chicago. That was a lot of fun. We had a couple special guests in there, some cold spray. It was a live show.
Dude, some cold spray now with the summertime.
A lot of cold spray. So
No
these
doubt.
are always a good time, and they get you thinking. And this one's given us a few days to marinate ahead of the pay-per-view. You know, we got the pay-per-view on Sunday. A couple things potentially could happen at a live Rampage tomorrow, but we're going early. We're making our picks early. They're locked and loaded.
Let's do it.
No turning back on this one. But you know, let's kick it off with the buy-in. You know, Hook and Danhausen, aka Hookhausen, versus Tony Nese and Smart Mark Sterling. You know, Hook's push and rise has been incredible to watch, and just, you know, got over with the fans so quickly. You guys know how I feel about Danhausen, so
you love Danhausen.
The pairing, I don't think Hook needs to be paired with anyone unless they're really trying to elevate Danhausen to a level on Hook's level. But that being said, you know, this is going to be a crowd pleaser match. Obviously, he's going to be so over, but hopefully they protect Nese, because I think Nese is got a lot of potential, and he's going to be a lot of fun if he can get a nice heel, you know, that mid heel push and pick up those W's versus some impressive talent. So my pick was Hook and Danhausen, because Hook is untouchable right now.
What about you,
I feel
Bonds?
it, man. This feels like Mark Sterling takes a million bumps match to me. Unfortunately for Mark Sterling, but that's what this is. I feel like we're gonna get a lot of, maybe Danhausen messing with Mark Sterling and Hook and Tony Nese getting some stuff in, which would be kind of cool.
Great pairing.
I'm excited for that. And
those two get at it.
Yeah, and we're gonna maybe see Hook in a little bit of a longer match. This is gonna be his first pay-per-view, right? So that's gonna be exciting for Hook. And Danhausen, obviously, he's just coming back from his injury, so he hasn't had an opportunity to wrestle at a pay-per-view yet. And I don't think he was even signed yet either. So this will be exciting. I mean, this is gonna be a crowd pleaser, like you said, SPD. Like, I picked Hookhausen as well, just because I think that Hook is on one of those trajectories where you don't want to give him an unnecessary loss, and it's like you might as well not have him wrestle this match if you're gonna have him lose. That's how I feel about it. So
no, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, but it'll be fun. It'll be good fun startup match for the show.
Yeah, you know what? There's a couple things that are interesting to me on this. One of those things is, we had a chance to chat a little bit with QT. He's one of our guys. We love QT Marshall, and he gave us a little insight. And Taz especially, but the backstage crew really wanted to keep Hook as his own entity. Yeah, so it is really interesting to see his pairing with Danhausen now. Didn't see this coming. But I'll say, what is working about this, and maybe why they decided to pivot away from Hook being his own thing, is it allows Hook to be the straight man to Danhausen's over the top comedy.
It's almost so weird that it works.
Yeah, it's that odd couple that kind of like almost goes back to the Rock and Sock connection, right? Where Mick Foley is that over the top comedy guy, and it only made the Rock that much more fun to watch, right? So I can see why some people question how these two fit together, but I think the more you see them play off of each other, the absurdity of Danhausen is only going to further accentuate sort of that like no nonsense. It allows Hook to kind of further develop as a star without having to carry all that on his own, if that makes sense. Because Danhausen's crazy over too. I know that SPD. We like to joke with you and rib you quite a bit because you're still coming around to Danhausen. I get it. Not everybody's cup of tea, but there's no denying Danhausen is crazy over. And
I just want to see him wrestle. I don't know what he has to give other than his.
You haven't gotten to watch him yet, which is
so.
And doesn't this is a win-win, right? You get to see Hook kind of being the straight man, being the badass, with sort of a comedy guy like Danhausen, and allows Danhausen to slowly get his footing again, coming off of pretty crazy injury. It allows him to kind of be more credible as a true threat without really having to put him over as a solo star, right? You allow Danhausen to build some credibility as a real attraction. Because, I mean, when we saw him go one-on-one with Tony Nese, the dude got rocked in like 20 seconds, right? So
not even.
And I think that's the right way to book him,
Santino'd.
right? I think that's the right way to book him. So I think this is a clean sweep. All three of us all see Hookhausen, the trajectory of this group, this pairing going up. And this is a nice way to, I think, by pairing Tony Nese with Mark Sterling, they can take the L. I think Mark Sterling's going to eat this one. Like Bond said, he's going to get destroyed. Hook's going to throw him around a few times. Suplexes it's going to be a lot of fun to see Hook suplexing Mark Sterling all over the ring and just sort of his over-the-top reactions to getting suplexed. I'm looking forward to that. But this is one of those feel-good moments of the show. I think, you need to have those where it's, even though this one feels a little obvious, the fans are going to pop for it. So
it's a good
I think it's a good way to start the
show.
show. Absolutely.
You're right. And, you're talking about like characters and over the top. I mean, no bigger character group than Jericho Appreciation Society at this moment, giving us a big taste. If you're wearing polyester in Vegas, you're going to get a fireball. The wizard gimmick is so ridiculously cheesy. It's so great. It's so cheesy. It's so great. I mean, thank you everyone joining us. Mine, Sharonica, Bobby, Scoot,
everybody. Good to see everybody.
So great to have our regulars coming by, man.
Adjust
really
your TV set. This isn't a repeat. Bonds is here live. Neck tattoo and all. But this is one of the matches, like, the king of, I struggled a little bit with this.
Yeah,
the
me too.
King of group stable matches, Chris Jericho and his newly Jericho Appreciation Society. This is their first true stable match. And so, going back and forth, obviously, Blackpool Combat Club has been absolutely on a tear. But I feel like the wild card for me of this one is the turmoil with the Eddie Kingston wild card. And so, normally if there wasn't that shoving, the Bryan Danielson and the shoving of that, anything like, that kind of, altercation, I would have probably been like, hands down, Blackpool Combat Club, Eddie Kingston, their time is due. They've taken, beat up after beat up.
I was going to say Jericho Appreciation Society has definitely been on the upper hand of the majority of what we've seen on television, which gave me reservation on picking them.
That's who you picked?
But I picked Jericho Appreciation Society because, and this is where I'm awful at this, right? I'm usually terrible at my picks are always wrong.
What did you guys pick in the chat?
I usually have like a D score on these pay-per-views. And a lot of times it's because your boy Crayfish has a really hard time separating the head from the heart. So on paper, I do think the way that this has been booked, I think that, Blackpool Combat Club and Eddie Kingston, Santana Ortiz are going to come out on top. But, dude, I love I know that Jericho Appreciation Society is very controversial. I get it. Their segments are not for everybody.
They're one of the best. Give us a taste.
Think that they're absolutely hilarious, dude. They're one of the segments that I look forward to week after week because they genuinely make me laugh.
Agree.
I think that Jericho's wizard stuff has been like ridiculously over the top, but great. And Team 2.0, dude, those guys are so good at what they do.
Funny.
I legitimately love those guys. So I picked them. And I'm with you. I think, like, let's be real, guys. Blackpool Combat Club, they seem unstoppable, right? But their pairing with Kingston, Santana Ortiz, that could lead, if there's turmoil, like you said, SPD, that could almost lead to a mini feud after this, right?
Kingston is a wild card. He's unpredictable. You never know what's going to happen with him.
And Jericho Appreciation Society is a true group.
Yeah.
And so it feels like build their momentum, have them get a W, allow Jericho and crew to continue on the ascent, rub it in our faces. I'm all for it. Bonds, I know that SPD had to pick Jericho because he's such a Jericho slappy. I'm gonna
My
just
pick was
speak for
Jericho
you.
Appreciation
Yeah, I
Society.
knew it. I knew it.
He's gonna win by a fireball to someone's eye.
To the face, yeah.
And it's
Where are
gonna be
you
great.
at with this, Bonza? We haven't had a chance to really talk to you about this feud,
Yeah.
right? So,
So
what are your thoughts on how this has been booked and who'd you pick to win?
this is one of the feuds I've enjoyed most recently. I've been kind of hit or miss with some of the booking lately, but this feud has been entertaining, to say the least. And I kind of went the opposite of you guys with it. I think that because Jericho Appreciation Society has kind of been, getting the upper hand a little bit, I picked Blackpool Combat Club, Eddie Kingston, PNP, just because it's like, this is the hardest match of the night for me because we have the combination of multiple teams mixing on the one side,
Right.
and then one that's like a bunch of young guys, in Jericho. You know what I mean? So there's like this whole kind of opposites, sort of thing. Like where you look at that other side, that's all veterans. Those are all top tier elite talent.
It's hard to pick against Moxley and Kingston and Danielson.
That's
You're right,
like
dude.
a Survivor Series team.
You're right.
You know what I mean?
True.
So it's like that's really tough. You know what I mean? Like this whole thing is kind of, and I'm not saying that the Jericho Appreciation Society aren't great. They're awesome. But it's like those guys are all a lot younger, a lot, less proven for the most part. And we'll see. I think that if they do win, which is kind of what I would be rooting for, I'd be rooting for Jericho Appreciation Society to win because, I always like seeing young guys go over. Like seeing the buildup of young talent. I'm a big Daniel Garcia guy. I love 2.0. They're great. I think that all those guys are just a blast and fun and at least either good in the ring or hilarious. So either way, I'm cool with it, but I went the opposite of you guys because I think that it's probably what's going to happen.
I get it. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, in my head, I'm with you, Bonds. In my head, I'm thinking, all right, Jericho Appreciation Society has clearly had the advantage over the last few weeks in this feud. Burned Eddie Kingston's face with a fireball and had some beat downs along the way. And Blackpool Combat Club feels like one of those groups that has been basically untouchable. They feel like they're on the precipice of potentially being a very special force in AEW. But I couldn't pick it. I couldn't go against it. My heart was with Jericho Appreciation Society just because of how entertaining these guys are. I want them to win. And I could see what
entertainers.
I could see what Mind Runner's saying here. I could see, there was the hint of those two going back and forth. Like you said, SPD, Eddie Kingston is a wild card. It's a taste. A little taste.
He's got to be mad at somebody that he's with.
So I think this is the way it's going to work. It's like the Blackpool Combat Club and Eddie's team they're going to have that turmoil. Someone's going to lose the match. They're going to be pissed at each other. I know Wheeler Yuta's in Japan or something, but you have Wheeler Yuta essentially because he's the odd man out at this moment.
Right.
You can have an instant 3-on-3 feud. Granted, there's still kind of some unfinished business with Jericho, but that feud, Eddie and PNP versus Blackpool Combat Club, would be some great stuff. Incredible. And then Jericho and their Appreciation Society can do their own thing, and it's a win-win for everyone, in my opinion.
I agree. Great point.
I think that's an exciting one. This one was a hard one for me as well to book, but now that I'm listening to your guys' take and talking it through with that kind of potential, or even if it doesn't happen right away, I still think it could happen down the line when Wheeler Yuta does return. I think that is a good pivot and a good fresh feud after a pay-per-view. And the next match I want to bring up is another one that Crayfish, you and I were on the same page, but Bonds, you were opposite to us. Tell us your pick and why on this one, which is a huge one in our opinion. I mean, if you guys, especially Crayfish and Bonds, you guys are big fans of both these guys.
Big fan of Joe, bro. Love me some Samoa Joe.
Yeah, so Bonds, give us your take on this, who you had and why, because Crayfish and I are lockstep with the opposite.
I picked Samoa Joe, and I picked Samoa Joe because I think his dominance so far since he's debuted here has been nuts. It's been next level. I think they view him as a star. I think they view him as a top tier guy. And if this is going to be like a last run, of sorts for Joe, this could be the start of it. Adam Cole, for how experienced he is still a young guy. He's a very young guy. He's younger than you guys. He's a young wrestler. He's 30. You know what I mean? So he's a young dude. Yeah. Joe is on kind of towards that tail end of his career.
Agree.
This could be one of those things where it's like a little bit of a start for a send off. For Joe. And while I hope that's not the case, because I think Joe's awesome, we have to take into account like real life. You know, he's had a lot of injury problems in the last 3 or 4 years.
Sure.
He's probably wrestling on borrowed time at points. There's times in the last year where people thought he was never going to wrestle again.
Yeah,
so it's one of those things where it's like, okay, you got a dude like Joe here. Let's do the opposite of what TNA did, where they gave him, you know, 1 world championship run in 10 years. You know, let's give Joe like that big push and get him up there. And you know, part of my
I'd be all for that, bro. I mean,
yeah,
it's hard not to love what Joe does in the ring. I mean, he's so special.
Yeah.
And how powerful his strikes are. I mean, he's one of the more fun guys to watch in pro wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about it fresh off the heels of Kyle O'Reilly versus Samoa Joe. That was one of those matches where it's just like,
great match.
They pull you in. Joe is one of those guys who gets you pulled into his matches where it feels like a fight, right? Yeah. And it's easy to fall in love with what Joe does. And I'm with you, man. I could totally see them saying, all right, he's the ROH TV champion. Joe really does feel like, and even going back to his WWE run, it felt like, man, just pull the trigger on this guy, the main roster.
I was hoping for that.
He was dominant in NXT, but like he never got over the hump on the main roster at WWE. I think this could be a huge opportunity if they end up going that way, Bonds. I can understand where you're coming from.
Well, and I think that, you know, there could be some more potential for some stuff down the line, but we'll wait to talk about that until later. But I had, this was like a 2-parter for me though.
Yeah, I love the idea of that Jay Lethal, Ring of Honor, everything that is still so fresh, and that's why I picked Jay Lethal in the Owen Hart tournament to be my wild card, so they can have some kind of come ahead to that, because he's going to show up and he's going to cost them the match in some way or another, or at least get a beatdown again, and that'll be fine, because if Adam Cole wins the way that I have, you know, the big picture booking, you know, I want Joe to win, of course, 100%. You know, I'm a Samoa Joe guy. The guy he is total right up my alley. The power, the physicalness, and just the awesome theme song, awesome angry look, like everything about him is great, and his agility. But the big picture, I see Adam Cole, and I do see Britt Baker winning, being a power couple push at that as well. So I'm standing by my statement on that. But that being said, protecting the Ring of Honor champion, yes, okay, but having him lose at not a clean loss, that still protects him. And then I think that will hopefully build Ring of Honor even more. You want to see more Ring of Honor shows or productions and things like that, because Ring of Honor has been kind of pretty quiet, and it's one of those, I think Tony Khan needs to push it more, have more shows, have more production, have more things involved, not just on AEW television. So expand it. You bought it, use it, develop it, and I think that Joe could spearhead that in a big way.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you said it really well, SPD. I'm going to say a couple things here. One, you totally sold me hook, line, and sinker on the power couple thing, dude. I'm all in on that. I love it. I think it's hilarious that, and it might not be coincidental, we've been really pushing the power couple thing on social, and now Britt Baker in a Forbes magazine article talked at length about what it means to be the power couple, almost addressing our push for this.
Forbes is watching the show.
Well, I think, I mean, we know that Britt is dialed into to what we do. She checks us out on Instagram, and I think that there is something to be said for that. I think that your idea is really compelling. I know that Britt's getting a lot of pushback on social media right now. You know, that drives me insane. Twitter drives me crazy enough. Now I have to see Britt Baker hatred on my timeline. I'm ready to throw my phone out the window. I'm so sick of it. What
are they saying about Britt? I've been off Twitter. What are they saying?
People are so mad that she beat Toni Storm, and they think that, like, you know, AEW pushes her too much, and
she was just a champ for like a year.
Here's my thing, right? I think that like Britt, even though she was champion, Bonds, you and I have talked a lot about this. Her championship reign, it didn't hit the way that it could have. And I think that fresh off the heels of her losing that championship, it almost feels like Britt needs a spark again. She needs something that makes her feel big. Like Britt, like her or not, Britt is one of the biggest stars in this entire company, and she does need something that gives her a character a motivation, gives her character a push. And I love SPD's idea of her being a part of the power couple. Adam Cole and Britt Baker winning their respective tournaments could really give them something else to talk about, rub in our faces, could really push them another level. And I think that the second part about this, and it's funny, we're talking about Britt Baker. Sorry, she's one of my favorite on the whole roster. But getting back to the Adam Cole versus Samoa Joe part.
We'll talk the Britt Baker match next. We'll put that in there since mine as well.
Talking Samoa Joe versus Adam Cole, I think that Adam Cole is in a position where this is almost playing perfectly to his character, right? Samoa Joe, by far on paper, is the one who should kick the shit out of the scrawny little Adam Cole, right? Let's look at things factually, right? Joe is a complete badass in the ring. But what I like about this is, as you said, SPD, the Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, Satnam Singh, that threat looms over this match.
I love
it. And that fits perfectly to Adam Cole's whole MO. This is a dirtbag who always finds a way to win, like Britt, by hook or by crook, right? He's gonna find a way to either manipulate his friends to cheat for him or take advantage of a distraction or outside interference, and he'll be more than happy to walk away as the champion, even if it means someone else costing Joe the match. So I think it would work out it would work out really well, right? It would push Samoa Joe, give him an ROH TV title feud. Really, the Jay Lethal thing has been, I think it's been really entertaining. We all like Jay Lethal. It could add fuel to that fire. If Jay Lethal and those guys cost Joe this tournament, it only makes Joe that much more pissed off and wants to rip their heads off.
Steam coming out of his ears.
And it allows Adam Cole to walk away with a win over, which might not be believable if he beats Joe one-on-one without some sort of outside interference. It allows him to walk out on top in classic Adam Cole fashion by being a dirtbag. And I love the booking of that, SPD.
Thank you.
By heart, I want Joe to win.
Of course.
Joe's one of my guys.
All agree on that.
I love the way that Joe wrestles. I hope we
lose that part of the bingo card. I would be glad to.
I definitely hope I win that part of the bingo card. For sure.
But that also goes to like, okay, Adam Cole and what he's doing. Let's give the dude credit. He is easy, even though he's got the theme song and he's got the chant and all that stuff. His character is sometimes insufferable. He's such an absolutely cocky
You're
jerk.
absolutely right.
I love it. All right, so we've had enough about this one. Transitioning into the women's side of things. You already know where I'm at with this, dude. I'm all in with USPD. I love Britt Baker as the winner of this tournament. I think that the DMD needs this, and I think that like Tony should lean into it, dude. The backlash on social media, sometimes you want to run away from it. Sometimes you want to pivot and listen to the fans and give them what they want. But sometimes the best thing could be to lean into the controversy. Make the fans pissed. Have Britt win. And let's be real. She is the face of this division, right? Like this woman has been somebody who has carried this division in throughout some tough spots. I will say part of my argument is that I think that Britt getting to this point, and you and I have had a lot of conversations about this, SPD, Britt getting to this point could really solidify push someone over the top if they beat Britt. And that's why her being in this one, dude, Britt's way too big of a star not to be on the pay-per-view. I'm sorry, guys. If you don't like it, I'm sorry. But facts remain no different than Tony pushing Jade into this pay-per-view. You got to put your top stars on the pay-per-view, guys. And Britt is undeniably one of those top stars. But I think this is a win-win. If Britt wins, it reignites her character. It can push that power couple angle that you're talking about, SPD. Yeah. And if she loses, it makes that whoever wins this tournament, it makes that win that much more important. Not only do they win the tournament, but they beat Britt Baker. They beat the one who SPD Bonds just said, who was a champion for a long time. So I think that they booked this, even though we've had a lot of debates over how this tournament went. Looking at the big picture now, SPD, I think that you sold me. I'm really in on where this could go if they book it the way that you've booked it.
Bonds, what do you think about that?
Yeah,
Bro, well, I mean, if you guys are all picking Brit, it's a clean sweep,
nice.
clean sweep. But I will say, Crayfish, you're on point with the fact that this could build another star. Chris Statlander just got repackaged. You know what I mean? Like, this is something that could push. If she wins, tomorrow night,
Yes.
I feel like this could go a lot of different ways. But if Chris Statlander wins tomorrow, I'm going to be a lot less confident in my pick of Britt Baker because you get a repackaged wrestler who just is like coming in this new look and everything, and who's been really talented and shown a lot of upside when she's gotten the opportunities when she's been healthy as well. So I think that they know that Tony probably understands that the women's division is very top heavy. If you can build 2 or 3 more stars out of who you have already, plus an additional 1 or 2 free agents that come available here in the next couple of months, this division is going to be caught up, because I do think that the top heavy part is a problem right now. We see that on TV. And I think that, if you build up a Ruby Soho or a Chris Statlander to beat Britt Baker, that's something that, okay, you immediately have another bankable star. You immediately have somebody that you can put in a main event, and they're going to obviously not going to win. It's going to be somebody who's, okay, they beat Britt Baker in the Owen Hart tournament. Like, this is a legitimate potential feud.
And Ruby Soho had a really fired up promo.
Yeah.
How she needs to win but if it's booking by Bonds, who wins that match between Soho and Statlander?
I think Statlander, because of what I said. You just repackaged her. She's
she looks better now than I think she looks better now than she ever has in AEW, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. She looks awesome. Her look is cool. She's in shape. She's awesome. Like awesome in the ring. So fun to watch. I love her
power. SPD. I know SPD is really big on her power. And I think that Statlander has talked about it openly. Some of that being an alien and all that stuff, it crippled her. It handicapped her as a believable champion. And I think now that she's kind of shed some of that,
it'd be like putting the belt on Luchasaurus or something. You know what I mean?
Well, like he is a champion right now.
The world championship.
I get what you're saying.
A little different. You know what I mean?
I get what you're saying. I mean, here's the thing. Like, she certainly she is now more focused. She's more believable as somebody who is got that fire in her. And I'll be honest, if the result of this is Statlander beating Britt and they end up putting Statlander against Jade, I don't know anybody who would argue that is a money match, bro. I mean, that is a money match. 2 absolute powerhouses in the division. Be a lot of fun to watch those 2 tangle up.
You're right. And, I picked Britt Baker, especially, you guys all know my push and my plan for it all. But if Britt were to lose, I would only want her to lose to Statlander to get that push for her. Unfortunately, I don't think Ruby's there yet to get that push overall. I think she would work great in a mini stable, things like that. But I think Statlander is ready for a top tier, like you said, Bond's upper push. And so for her to beat Ruby and then beat Britt, I mean, next on the chopping block would be to face a champion. And so
how
I think
cool is it that she came in as an injury replacement, right?
Yeah,
and then
that would be a great story. Rudy
to transcend. I mean, that would be really cool, man. I mean, it really would. It would show. It would be a nice pivot in the way this whole story of the whole tournament played out.
And it would sell the fact that this is anybody can win. If the person who wasn't even in the tournament to begin with wins.
Great point.
And it would be
considering
good.
Both Jokers lost their matches, right? That could be a nice way to say, hey, man, anything can happen in AEW. That's a great point, Bonds.
Yeah.
It is more compelling. Yeah, if DMD loses to Stat, I would support that as well. But we all picked clean sweep DMD to win.
I'm smiling, baby. I'm smiling like Ethan Page right now. That's fantastic.
But we want the ultimate payoff. We do want a Jade Cargill versus Chris Statlander match. I mean, we saw the power from Statlander, the one hand up of Red Velvet flexing, similar to what we see in Jade's moveset, flexing and being cocky and all that. So they're pound for pound and strength for strength. I think Statlander and Jade, that is a perfect match. And I don't think anyone else in the division is matched for Jade in terms of that kind of strength and power and Stat. And
Agreed.
so she would be the first essential challenger that to me would be convincing to dethrone Jade.
Good
Would
point.
Jade be dethroned that soon? They could
No.
build a match from Statlander and Jade for weeks and months on end, and it'd be worth it. And then you push Statlander. I don't know. I mean, you need to. It is always good to resurface the landscape in AEW and to keep things fresh, which we'll talk about some of the title matches and our thoughts on if titles will change. This one is definitely the most lock of the night, in my opinion. Jade's going to go through Anna Jay pretty quick.
It's going to be pretty convincing.
As she has, 30+0, just that undefeated streak. And so it is on the card. To me, it could have been a nice pairing with the buy-in. But I'm happy to see Jade, as you said, the upper echelon talent in the women's division on pay-per-views. It's important. And so this is one of those, and it deserves
controversial that this match kind of got shoehorned in. I think,
it deserved a build.
This pay-per-view is massive already, and it is kind of like last second that this got put in there, and it feels like to me this is Tony recognizing, like, all right, that this title needs to be on the pay-per-view, it needs to be defended, and Jade is too big of a star to leave off of the card. I don't know where Anna Jay coming in out of nowhere as a title contender feels odd. She hasn't really been booked in a way that makes me believe that she really has a chance to beat Jade. I know they could go one of two ways. They can make me surprised, because I feel like that seems to be the predominant feeling amongst the AEW fan base, is that Jade's going to just smash Anna. So maybe Anna gives Jade a hard time in this match, and maybe they surprise people in this one.
That'd be nice.
But I'll be honest with you, Jade shouldn't show a weakness until you are really put her against somebody who feels like she could really beat her. To this point, Jade feels almost untouchable. And I'm with you. I think that Statlander feels like that looming threat for Jade's title down the road. I don't want to see Jade really in peril until she's going up against somebody who's presented as an equal. And Anna Jay has not been presented as an equal to this point. I think that Jade should absolutely smash Anna Jay in this match. I think it should be an absolute beatdown. And sometimes it's okay to have those squashes. I don't know. I don't think it will be that way.
Right.
But I think if I was booking it, this would be a quick match.
Yeah.
Jade.
The end.
Well, this is all right. The next match. I mean, we're coming into two back-to-back matches that we're going to talk about that we're very, very passionate about here at Dynamite Download. And this one, guys, I wanted to ask you at the beginning of the show, but Bonds had to cut his Cody promo. Which match could be the best wrestling match on the card?
Yeah.
And I think this would be it. I mean, we're going to see probably some of the most epic jaw-dropping things out of Death Triangle, and with some awesome striking encounters of House of Black. Like, these six guys are just going to tear the house down. It could be one of those in such an impactful card. This is one of those that could steal the show. And they were on the buy-in with not a full Death Triangle, and it was one of the best matches of the night on the last pay-per-view. And so now we finally have a full, healthy Death Triangle and the House of Black. So I think this is going to be fantastic. I hope they give them as much time as they want. But my pick is Death Triangle. They're getting that momentum. They are healthy. Ray Phoenix is back, and it is going to be one of the best matches. I think Ray Phoenix could be. I mean, he more times than not, he's my star. He's my top performer of the show. But he's going to stand out more than anybody, in my opinion. I know Pac hasn't been on TV that much, but when he gets that opportunity, talk about maximizing your minutes, he does that. So, Bonds, you did not pick Death Triangle.
I did not.
Why?
Bonds is going to be right in this one. I do. It sucks for me to say, but I think he's going to be right.
Because this was also very hard to pick. I think all of the tag matches were like all really tough for me. But I picked House of Black because, their momentum has just been awesome, especially since Malachi Black debuted. His momentum has been just freakish and awesome and great. And he's such a unique cat. And I think the House of Black is so interesting and smart. And like, I don't know, man. I just feel like that they're one of those teams that when that trios belt comes, they're going to be one of the 2 or 3 squads that like you think, okay, these guys are going to get a very early title reign.
Same thing with
in
Death
that.
Triangle,
And
though. I mean,
I know,
yeah.
I feel it, man. I feel it.
Yeah.
It's just, it's one of those things where Death Triangle, I love those guys. I think they're great, but it always feels like they're right on the cusp of being like, oh man, they're going to just have an awesome thing here, a great program. And then one of them gets hurt or
Yep.
something happens where they randomly lost. Okay, I guess they're not getting a push. You know what I mean? It's so stop and start with those guys. And it's like, while I think that in terms of talent and just awesome in-ring stuff, yeah, those guys are as good as anybody and probably better than the House of Black, in my opinion. You get so many chances. You know what I mean?
That's what I was going to say.
And then eventually I can't go all in anymore. You know what I mean?
It definitely feels like Tony has pumped the brakes a little bit.
He's pulled the reins in. Yeah.
With Death Triangle. I think that there was a point when he was ready to go all in with this group, and it felt like this group was on fire. And I could throw so many superlatives about how much I love this group and how special they are.
So talented.
How talented this group is.
It's disgusting.
I mean, the Bastard is my favorite wrestler on the planet, and it's really not close.
What shirt do you have on?
I'm rocking it. I had to wear it. He's my guy, and I love this group. I think that Penta and Phoenix, I've always liked these guys dating back to their Lucha Underground days. I think that, as you said, SPD, it's so much fun watching them in the ring together. And Bonds, you really nailed it. When they are fully healthy, this group feels so special. But there's been so many stop and starts that it doesn't feel like this group is going to – I feel like Tony almost looks at this group as losses are almost expendable with them. We saw Phoenix
in the world.
I know. We saw Phoenix come back and lose right away in the tournament, right? The Owen Hart tournament, lost in the first round. I see Tony looking at House of Black as a group that is still ascending. And unfortunately, I think that Tony looks at the Death Triangle as a group that has been kind of snake bitten. And I picked the Death Triangle because I can't pick against my guy, Pac. And
I'm with you. I can't pick against Ray.
That. I know you and I both love this group, and honestly, if Dynamite Download was booked,
come on, guys, I love Penta, and I picked against him. Man.
I know. I struggled with this. I talked to SPD before we released our picks, and I was like, dude, I always struggle with should I pick what I think is going to happen or what I want to happen, and this is one of those where I just erred on the side of what I want to happen. I want Death Triangle to be amazing. I want them to get the push. I think these guys are so special. But I mean, big picture, Bonds, I think that you're going to end up probably being right on this one. I do think House of Black is a group that I think that House of Black is a group that I think that Tony views as an ascending group of talent. And really think about it. We haven't really had a chance to see what they have to offer that much when it comes to in the ring.
I wish we had
Matthews
more of that.
Buddy Matthews is a talent. Mine Runner mentioned it in the chat. Buddy Matthews versus the Bastard is going to be freaking it's going to slap when those two guys go toe-to-toe. I can't wait for that. But I feel like Death Triangle still has a lot to offer that we haven't seen. I'm sorry, House of Black has a lot to offer that we haven't seen.
Both.
And this is going to be a great showcase for them because both these talents both groups are absolutely killer.
This should be the best match of the night.
This could be best in-ring match of the night. The only other one, I have one other one that when we get to it, that I think could rival this, and it might surprise you from an in-ring talent perspective. But this one without a doubt is gonna be one that sets the bar very, very high.
Absolutely. And, when we, at the end, the final wrap question, I want to get you guys' take on what match you think should open the show, other than the buy-in, obviously. So think about that, marinate that for a while. But Bonds, this has been the number one feud in AEW. Crayfish and I can't
in all of wrestling, dude. In all of wrestling. Period.
We can't stop talking about this feud. Yeah. But before Crayfish and I just start salivating, tell us your pick and why and what you get it off your chest, because we've been talking about it. We've been able to talk to the crew, IWC.
Man,
what do you feel about this feud and how it's going to go? And then tell us your tiebreaker number of number of power bombs Wardlow is going to deliver in this one. MJF Wardlow is set for Double or Nothing, the number one feud in AEW right now by landslide.
Dude, I have absolutely loved this feud. This has been not only the best feud like in AEW, the best feud in wrestling, and the feud of the year, the feud of the decade. It's been awesome. Absolutely awesome. Not only have you've maintained MJF's status quo as one of the greatest wrestler like characters in the world, but now Wardlow looks so awesome, and he's like the hype around him is so massive that you have a guy that when this feud's over, the sky is the limit. Like you could put him in something immediately. Let's say CM Phil wins the championship later on in the night. Like Wardlow basically beat him in that match. Like you could say, hey, Wardlow, Wardlow could come out and be like, hey man, I have a contract now. I want a rematch with you, champ. Yeah. He could immediately go into the title picture. I picked Wardlow because you can't not have him win this match. That would be the weirdest, biggest missed opportunity I've ever seen. And I picked him to powerbomb MJF 27 times because I think MJF deserves it.
That's a bold pick.
Wardlow did say that he wants to powerbomb MJF to a point where his arms are tired. So that I love.
Yeah, 27 was my number.
I like it.
So anyway, whoever wants to continue, because that's the one all I got. It's awesome.
SPD, jump in real quick, man.
All right, so this one? I mean, yes, this you can't say enough of great things about this. Home run, top notch, must see TV. Don't want this to end because this is so fun. But every great story has to come to an end, and this is the ultimate end, the ultimate payoff. This will be the biggest feel good moment of the night. Wardlow getting officially signed to AEW. Wardlow putting away the salt of the earth, the rat fink himself, the despicable one, MJF, the spray tan.
The drizzling shit,
spray tan. He's going to go through probably 3 cans of spray tan as he did.
On his hands.
On his hands only. Just his hands.
Yeah, get
just
the
hands
orange for me.
But this is going to be one of those that we've talked about before, Crayfish, and I think I agree with this one. I think it's going to be a cat and mouse a little bit. MJF scared running around the ring and all that stuff. But when finally Wardlow gets his hands on a couple of the cheap shots, the low, kicking the knees and shins and things like that. Right. But once Wardlow gets his hands on him, it's going to be, I think it's not going to be a pin. The ref's going to call it. I think the ref is going to call it because he powerbombed him so much. A powerbomb, a guy the size of that's an interesting take. That just came to my mind, like such a convincing way to really give that stamp of badassness of Wardlow. He's not even going to get a pin, even though he could put his foot on him. The ref's just going to call it, you're done, do it. And then he's going to get up, give him 5 more power bombs. So my power bomb pick was 13 because I know, and that's not 13 to MJF. He's going to deliver some to Spears. He's going to deliver some to someone else, but MJF is probably going to get I would say between 8 and 10. I hopefully he gets a 10 total, but a power bomb is a move that exerts a lot of energy. And even someone as big and strong and as conditioned as Wardlow, that's a lot. And so, it's one of those, like, if he gets us 10 power bombs, like, I will be so happy. Like, that would be
what I've been calling for. What I've been calling for.
You got your number.
For 15 power bombs. I want 15 Ward Dog. And
all to MJF?
I want Wardlow to I want him to powerbomb
the spray tan off his hands.
I want the visual at the end where MJF is just laying on the mat, destroyed.
Wardlow.
Exactly. I want him to. I want MJF to. And here's the thing, dude. Again, I said it. I'll say it once. I'll say it again. MJF has been the most consistent performer in AEW. We talked about it so many times. This dude is gold in everything he does. He doesn't seem very happy about his contract. Let's get this dude some paid vacation time at the expense of the Ward Dog. Have Wardlow absolutely give him a one-way ticket to maybe the Bahamas or something. Get him out of here for a little bit. Let the dude take a
break. Long Island.
Maybe his vacation will be Long Island. But I think Wardlow needs to win this match. The build to his breakout, and he's been my breakout star of the year for 2 years in a row. I've been dying for this moment to happen, And I truly feel like I don't know if they could have booked this any better. I really don't think that, like, every single week, this is the story that pulls me in. This is the story that makes me want to watch AEW. I absolutely love how this whole thing has been played out. I think kudos to all the guys involved. I think this has been masterful work. But Wardlow feels like Bond said, Wardlow feels like when he comes out on top in this match, and when he does it in convincing fashion, this feels like a guy who is a bona fide top level guy. And especially in AEW, where so many members of this roster, let's be real, are smaller. So many members of this roster would, when you put them in the ring next to Wardlow, the visual alone, War Dog stands out as a true beast.
He's a scary
on
dude.
This roster. He's a big fella. I'm all for Wardlow just absolutely making a statement. He needs a statement win. And as mine said, MJF has been booked in a way that he's almost been untouchable. He always finds a way to come out on top. For Wardlow to convincingly beat down Max, I think that this could make that much more of a statement. Put Wardlow over the top, guys. Go all in on this guy. I certainly am. This is going to be, for me, this is going to be the match that I'm most looking forward to out of all of them.
I want this to end the show, even though it won't.
I hear you, dude. This feels like, I mean, out of all, I mean, am I off base? Out of all the stuff that's happening at Double or Nothing, this is the one that they've built the most excitement for. This is the one that they've built
the most time
for
too. Yeah, I mean, you talk about, like, yes, the Go Home show does the typical booking 101 of, like, hyping up things, and I was kind of retracing, like, what matches got the hype and what didn't. That Hangman CM Punk promo was pretty epic, but the build of this, the lashes, the cage match, like, there hasn't been a level of excitement anything else. And so this one, I 100% agree that this will be the number one match I'm looking forward to of what's going to happen. I want, being a babyface, I want the best story. I want Wardlow to just absolute massacre MJF. And then I want Tony Khan to hand deliver a contract and say, welcome to AEW.
None of us have talked about
a
this.
Parade, have confetti, balloons, everything.
And the Cody special. Yeah.
How great would that be?
Wardlow record 1-0. And then boom, his undefeated streak starts. And I want it to be
that's
such
smart.
a spectacular.
That is cool. Like, as an official member of the AEW roster, he's 1-0, and that could lead to. I like that. We haven't really. None of us have entertained the thought of potentially. What if Max won? What if MJF won this?
There'd be no Wardlow.
What if Wardlow had to be put in a position where he had to be humbled and become back as MJF's? I mean, that could be interesting. It could be, but I think that they need to pull the Band-Aid off. They need to let Wardlow.
It's over.
I think they need to move forward. I'm with you, man. Speaking of it's over, let's move on from this one, because honestly, we've gushed over that feud every single week that we do this show, man. I absolutely love that. This is the other match that I feel like could be top level in-ring work. Every single time that Serena Deeb and Thunder Rosa have tangled up, each time these two women have gone toe-to-toe, these women absolutely bring it. Their chemistry is incredible. SPD, I love the Thunder Rosa DMD feud. It was my favorite feud in the women's division. Thunder Rosa's championship reign needs an arch rival like Serena Deeb to emerge. Serena Deeb has certainly been presented as an equal, if not slightly better than Thunder at times in their past, right? So I really dig this match, and it's unfortunate that these two didn't get a ton of time leading into the Double or Nothing. I'm really hoping, sets of fingers crossed here, that this one spills on past Double or Nothing, because I think, as Bombs alluded to earlier, this division's very top heavy, and I don't see a lot of other contenders in the division that could really have a great program with Thunder right now. And when you pair that with the fact that this one hasn't had a ton of time to marinate on AEW television, I think that Deeb and Thunder Rosa could have a best 2 out of 3 series again, and it could extend on past Double or Nothing. These two women are as good as it gets in the ring in the women's division in AEW and in pro wrestling. I mean, extending beyond AEW, I think that Thunder Rosa or Serena Deeb on any roster, when it comes to in-ring work, they're as good as it gets. I love what these two are capable of. I think that their styles work really, really well together. Deeb's new focus, her kind of her anger, her fuel on being disrespected, I dig it. I can't wait to see this match. And again, it hasn't been hyped up enough.
Agreed.
It's one of those that I think could steal the show from an in-ring perspective if given time.
Yeah, man, I feel it. I think you're right on point, man. Like, this is two of the top tier talents in the company, just generally, and in the world. Like, we've talked about it for the last year and a half, 2
Man
years
or
now.
women's division.
Yeah, like Serena Deeb is just top notch, and Thunder has been just a great champ. And before she was champ, she's had some of the best matches in AEW. This is going to be a show stealer, you know, and it shouldn't even be a show stealer because we know what's coming. You know, we know that this is going to be just hell. They're going to put each other through hell, and they're going to be stiff, and it's going to be really fun to watch, and we're going to cringe a couple times, I'm sure. Yeah. And there's going to be some stuff that happens, and I picked Thunder. I picked the champ to retain. But again, I don't necessarily think that this is like a in stone kind of thing, because Serena Deeb winning the belt wouldn't only be shocking, but it could lead to that feud escalating. You could escalate the feud by moving that belt, and it would be shocking. You know, maybe have some other stuff go on where, okay, like now Thunder, because the system works where you have to have wins. You know what I mean? And maybe
agreed.
You know what I mean?
And it would play off of the story, although the story hasn't been fleshed out a lot. It would play off of the story that builds to this match at the pay-per-view. Is that, you know, Deeb feeling disrespected, people overlooking Deeb, you know, JR, Tony Schiavone, Dustin Rhodes, all of them picking against Deeb. It could be one of those, like, she could come out and win and say, I told you so. None of you believed in me, and I told you that I'm not afraid of Thunder Rosa. I beat her before, I can beat her again, and I just did.
And you make that character that much more insufferable doing that. You know, you give her that cocky edge now, instead of just like you know, I'm an underdog even though I'm the best women's wrestler in the world. Now I am, and I can have the title, and I can prove it. So like now I'm even you know, worse, and that would be the biggest win of her career. You know what I mean? In any company, this would be the biggest moment of her career, and I think it would be awesome. But I picked Thunder.
And there's also a built-in feud post. There's a couple. I think that Deeb also then has the built-in feud with Hikaru Shida as a potential challenger too. And that's the thing I talked about before, is it doesn't feel like there's a lot of contenders that Thunder could have going forward right now. I don't see a ton of people on the AEW roster. I mean, you look at the up-and-coming stars in this division. Tony Storm's a babyface. Ruby Soho's a babyface. Chris Statlander's a babyface, right? And so
have her run through them.
Thunder, and again, I would hate for Thunder to lose the belt this quickly, right? But I get where you're coming from. If Deeb were to win, it could make sense, and it could throw a wrench into things, and it would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. The cool thing about most of this card is that you can pivot in so many different directions based on who wins the match. There's so much stuff that's being set up already that you can like look at, okay, I could see that this happening because
if it went this way, right?
Yeah, because this is already being set up. And so, like, that's where I'm going with that as well. Like, you know, Thunder wins, and you can go anywhere with it or continue the feud, which is what I would want. But if it goes the other way, it's like, okay, cool. You're like, this is awesome. Like, you can't lose with most of this card.
I agree.
It's great. I love it.
SPD, I'm picking Thunder Rosa because I want her title reign to continue. I don't think that Thunder has really been given a fair shake. And again, as a DMD fan, Slappy, Britt has gotten a ton of time. When she was champion, she had a ton of TV time. I don't think that TK and AEW have really given Thunder that opportunity. I think that what we saw on Dynamite last week with her delivering an absolute epic promo.
That was the first time
fired
she's had an
up.
opportunity.
I mean, I think
Yeah,
that she
it was a
has that
great promo.
opportunity. That let's see what she can do. Really give this woman some time. Who'd you end up picking? Did you pick Thunder?
So a couple things. I got a lot in this one because a
Go
few
at
months
it.
ago, before Thunder won, Serena Deeb's rise of just being more featured more in dominance, I said that if anyone could dethrone any champion, the only one that person would be Serena Deeb right now. And I still stand by that. But at this point, I don't think if this was at All Out, whatever, 5 months from now, I think we would be singing a different tune. But Thunder Rosa has had one title defense. And for her to scratch, crawl, and blood, sweat, and tears to get to that position where she dethroned Britt, for her to lose after only defending once would be a pretty low blow, in my opinion, even though it's the caliber of wrestler of Serena Deeb.
Yeah.
But beating Serena Deeb would make you that much better. Not many people can beat Serena Deeb. And so I think you could stretch this program out. So I feel like it is going to be one of those, possibly bloody, brutal matches that we're gonna absolutely love and just.
I can't wait for this one, guys.
Yeah, this is one. This will be out of all the three women's matches. This, the gold's on the line for one, but this will be the one that we're gonna be, singing praises about because it's gonna be a lot of fun to watch. So, on paper, yes, like Deeb would be such a fun champ and she deserves gold. And I could see her dethroning Thunder or Jade at any given point. I still stand by that. Like she could dethrone anyone at any given time. That being said, it's the timing wasn't right. Maybe they do stretch it out for a longer time. There's no way you have someone as built as Thunder only defend the title once just to lose it,
especially
at the very next
especially
pay-per-view.
after that promo that she had, man.
Yeah.
I just feel like that
she
was
just threw it all in, and it was great.
She crushed it, dude.
Yeah.
She crushed that promo, and it made you feel like, all right, she really is like she's only just begun. I mean, she has a mission beyond this match. She wants to prove, and again, Deeb could carry that mantle too, but off the heels of a Britt Baker title run that was really plagued by a lot of cheating. Bonds, I know this was one of the things that was like a thorn in your side with DMD's title reign was like you have a world champion who never won clean ever.
Not one time.
I know.
And you feel like, all right, well, Thunder Rosa could add more legitimacy to this title belt by having clean, compelling, back and forth, fiery matches that really elevate the worth and prestige of this title. And I think that would go a long way. I think that this is going to be
bar.
Yes, agreed. SPD, let's get into the next matchup because
hold on, I gotta put my dangly in.
Okay, hold on. So we had a new towel for sale on DynamiteDownload.com. The Booking by Bonds towel. It's only $29.99
plus $29.99 shipping.
Plus
dude,
$29.99
you were busting out all you were bringing out the neck tattoo, the Booking by Bonds towel. I can't wait to see what you have in store for us to wrap up the show, man. You are pulling out all the
I
stops.
need to find something to wrap up with then.
The dangly's in right here.
Dangly's in.
And
SPD's bringing out the danglies, the Dynamite Download danglies. This is going to be a fun one, and this is one of the ones that I had a hard time picking. One of the
I had a hard time too. You were texting me all day.
Yeah, this is one that I really struggled with. I want to see, what the fans are thinking in the chat. Where are you guys' heads at with this one? Because, I think you could go either way. I think, SPD, I'm going to let you touch on the Matt Hardy and how compelling he's been in the build-up to this one. But I ended up picking the Young Bucks because I feel like it's weird how almost like unimportant the Bucks have felt in a while in AEW, and it just doesn't feel right. I think the Bucks could use a big win. I think that them beating, their heroes, the Hardy Boys, and proving, as they said, Edge and Christian, the Dudleys and the Hardys would be fodder for them if they were around in their era. I don't know, man. I think that the Bucks really need a big win. It could be a cool, even though I've struggled a little bit with the Undisputed Elite. If Adam Cole wins, if Kyle O'Reilly ends up beating Darby, as I know that's a match that they're talking about having on this pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And if the Young Bucks
28
win,
more matches.
it could push that group a little bit, and it feels like they need it. I mean, the Bucks just, I don't know, man. AEW feels weird without them feeling important, and they just don't feel super important right now. I think that this would be a nice step in the right direction. And quite honestly, I like the AEW homegrown guys winning. I struggle with like all the guys coming in and topping our favorites. I want the Bucks to win, even though they're the bad guys in this feud. It's shocking that I want the heels to win this one.
And believe it or not, Team Babyface, live, love, super kick.
That was a super kick to the bread basket. You didn't get very high on that one.
No, I agree with you. I mean, the fact that, like, if you've been following BTE, the stuff that's been going on there has been TV-worthy stuff. It's been so fun to watch. And the Hardys, I mean, with BTE, you get this blank canvas and, like, do what you want. And so the Hardys and Young Bucks stuff, BTE has been spot on. So what you guys, if you haven't been following up with it, what you've just that little taste that we got of Matt Hardy, just like spilling his guts, promo of the night, essentially. He's been doing that week in and week out for weeks on BTE. He's really like pushing the buttons and pushing the envelope and wanting to get that dark side of the Young Bucks, the Bucks of youth, and and all that. So he has, to me, Matt Hardy single-handedly has built this feud between these two teams to perfection. He has done an outstanding job building this, making this one of the most exciting, tag team matches on the card. I just can't wait, because I agree, man. It's Young Bucks. The Bucks of youth are going to be taking this one. They need the win, and I'm all for it with, like, unless there's a bigger program down the line. I think this is the one where, you have to have the AEW homegrown beat the legends, the dream match. I mean, these guys, this is a dream for them. And so
the hard part is, though, SPD, is that, like, you bring Jeff Hardy in and
beat Darby.
There was a ton of hype and buzz around the Hardy Boys being reunited, and they haven't really made huge waves.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people in the chat are talking. Chris said it very emphatically. The Bucks have no chance of winning.
No chance in hell.
Bonds, SPD and I both picked the Bucks, but like we've had some of these other ones, like House of Black Death Triangle, I almost feel like I knew that I was going to be wrong, even though I picked this. Did you pick the Hardys? Because I have a feeling that you did.
No, I did not. I picked
and this is the one after I looked at both of your guys' cards after I made my pick. You guys sent them, and I texted Bonds direct. I'm like, "Wow, you didn't pick the Hardys?"
I was shocked. I thought Bonds was going to pick the Hardys,
even though he picked 27 power bombs for Wardlow. That's not what I really was concerned about. I was surprised he didn't pick the Hardys.
Explain why you're on the Bucks. I know that you're a big Young Bucks fan, right? So is this one of those examples where you're picking with your heart over your head, or what?
I mean, I'm picking with my brain. They're
you always do.
Yeah, they're in their prime. They've been the most consistent tag team in AEW since it started. Yeah, they're one of the best tag teams in the world, and the Hardys are in their 40s, and they're still awesome. But like the Bucks are in their prime. The Bucks are like it now. Yeah, like they're upper echelon, top 3 team. It's FTR, Death Triangle, and them. You know what I mean? Like, that's about it. Like, there's other guys that are great. Other teams, like the tag champs, are great too. But like the Young Bucks, for a year, were one of the most entertaining parts of the show, along with, with Kenny coming. I don't think that putting them, like having the Hardys go over on them, especially when Kenny's on his way back. Like when Kenny's on his way back, like they're going to be very important. And I think that lowering them down the card, when they're about to be probably propelled back into that upper echelon, I just don't think it makes sense. And I honestly, I feel like the Hardys are really here. Just, it's cool to see them, right? This is kind of a last run. You know,
Yeah.
like I don't really see them as like. I think they're gonna get a chance to win the tag team titles at some point because for the whole like, oh wow, we won in every promotion ever, you know, which is awesome. Like that's great,
Sure,
and I think
of
they
course.
should. But I don't think that you just bring in another team that's like, you know, kind of towards the end of their career and say, okay, we're going to have you go over on the best tag team in the world. And then we're going to put the belts on you and have you guys do like a bunch of matches. And I think that if you're going to do that, I guess maybe now is the time, the sooner the better. Right. But
True.
for me, it's just like, you know, the Bucks have had an absolutely historic run in AEW so
Yeah.
far. They've been
Yeah.
champions for, I don't know if they're the longest reigning champs, but they've been up, probably. And
Yeah.
I haven't gotten tired of it. I haven't gotten tired of their shtick. I think that they're just as funny, just as
Agree.
entertaining. I just don't. I don't pick against them because I think that they're the best. And the only reason I picked,
that's
agree.
why I mean that's why I think like
It's-
I'll be honest with you. I think that you said you booked with your head, but I
Yeah.
think that you are. I mean, I think that you booked with your heart. I think that you were a little blinded by this one. I was expecting you to go with the Hardys because I don't see TK booking this where those guys go down. And I'll be honest with you, the build to this match, Matt Hardy has been
the
MVP.
guy.
He's been
Yeah.
the MVP. And I think that like we saw Jeff dabble in a little singles run, but Matt and Jeff feel right when they're a tag team, right?
Yeah.
And here's the thing, even though I picked the Bucks to win, do I see them entering the World Tag Team title picture anytime soon?
Not
I don't.
anytime soon.
I don't.
No.
And
we'll talk about next.
I think the Hardys have more opportunity to potentially get into that picture. As you said, I think that you really made a very convincing case that if you're going to pull the trigger on a Hardy Boys title run, sooner than later, it needs to happen, right? I mean, they need to do that. They don't
as soon as possible.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't have the luxury of having another 10 years ahead of them like the Bucks could,
Sure.
right? So even though we all picked the Young Bucks, I feel like Team Dynamite Download.
All of us think the Hardys are going to win, but we all picked the Bucks.
Yeah, isn't it weird? It's really
Yeah.
funny. We all made a case for we all want the Bucks to win, but I think we're going to end up walking away with an L on this one. The fans in the chat certainly think there's no chance the Bucks win, so it'll be interesting.
Well, either way, at least we're all going to either lose or win, so it's not going to really affect anything.
This is a win-win. I mean, this is going to deliver. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I think even though the Hardys have, you know, decades in the
can
business,
see-
they're going to give it all they
I
have.
see Jeff
and
dropping a swanton bomb.
I hope
in this one.
they turn this into a no DQ, because why not?
Well,
Why not?
I think this could be one that's going to be chaotic, right? I think that there's going to be a
Yeah.
lot of fun when Jeff Hardy's involved. There's going to be a lot of like rules will be stretched. This
Yes.
is not going to be an FTR tag match where you know you're holding the rope and following all the rules. I think this is going to be one where it's going to be a lot of fun. Going to be a lot of high spots. You can't go wrong either way, and that's one of the things, Bonds. I love having you with us because you nailed it. There are so many matches on this pay-per-view that like it feels like no matter which way you go, there's a ton of potential, right?
Mhm.
If the Hardys win, you could see them
Good
building
point.
towards a potential title, like
Good point.
title run push. If the Bucks win, you could say, all right, man, finally. And again, I look at this as a bigger picture. I picked Adam Cole to win. I think that if Kyle O'Reilly versus Darby ends up happening, even though I'm the conductor of the Darby Express, choo-choo, baby, I think Kyle O'Reilly wins that one. And if the Bucks beat the Hardys, you get a clean sweep for the Undisputed Elite.
True.
And it feels like for a group that they want to feel important in the landscape of AEW, that could really use some big momentum push. This group doesn't feel like they have a ton of momentum, and this could be a clear. All right, we're hitting pedal to the metal on the Undisputed Elite. I don't know. This is going to be a good one. We talked a lot of tag team wrestling in this one.
Ooh.
Let's get into the tag team championship match. This three-way tag match. You don't see this a lot.
No, not in
Three-way tag
AEW.
match. This one's going to be a fun one. And I think this is going to be one of the ones where we finally are split because we have at SPD, you know more than I do. Is there dissension amongst the ranks on this one? Because we've had a lot of consensus picks so far up to this point.
Now, Bonds, I'll let you talk because not to spoil it, Bonds and Crayfish are on the same wavelength right now, and I'm the one that's on the outside looking in.
Right.
So,
All
Bonds,
right.
who did you get? Who do you have picking this three-way?
I picked Keith Lee and Swerve.
Whose house?
Swerve's house.
Whose house?
Dude, this was so tough for me because
Yeah,
I
me
love
too.
all
This
three of
was.
these teams,
Me
man.
too,
Like you
man.
guys know, I'm the biggest Team Taz slappy there is. I love
You
Ricky
have
Starks and
been.
Powerhouse Hobbs.
Yes.
Jurassic Express they're so fun. I think Jack Perry's gonna be the man. You know what I mean? But this again feels like an opportunity to have a team where you could put these guys in that. Okay, you didn't really expect it, but out of nowhere they become this like awesome team, and they get shot up the ranks and just
They're so
win the belt.
over.
And
They're
they are so
over.
old, man. Like you knew, and we talked about this before. Like when Keith Lee came to AEW, right? Like we were all talking about how he was misused and everything, and like, oh man, like this guy is such a star. And I think that he's proven that. I think Swerve also has just been. That dude's a charisma magnet. Like he's just so charismatic and
You're
and
absolutely
awesome
right.
and fun to watch in the ring and in his backstage segments.
You're right.
I think these guys could do some really interesting matches. They'd be a unique tag team.
Yeah.
From what we've seen,
their offense is so cool together.
It's so cool. And like, honestly, most of the tag champs have been like straight up all high flying, other than Jurassic Express with Luchasaurus, who's not that, but most of the tag teams have been that. And we could start seeing you get Keith Lee in there who can do like power stuff, and you start getting like some interesting matches, right? And you could have some different teams built up in that, man. And I don't know. I think that this was really tough, but I picked the new guys going in there because I think it's the most potential to build a star tag team out of this.
I picked them to win as well. And the main reason why is it feels like you and I have talked about this. And again, you haven't been a part of this crew officially. I mean, you're always part of our crew, but you haven't been on the show in a while. But you and I have talked a lot about this offline, that sometimes it feels like AEW doesn't pull the trigger on acts that if they did could be huge. They wait too long, or they sometimes just never do.
Yeah.
And that's I again, we don't like to sling arrows here, but that feels like something where if they don't pull the trigger on this team right now, they could be having a huge missed opportunity. I think that Swerve and Keith Lee, they clearly are clicking in a way that I didn't see coming.
You're right.
Because when Keith Lee came into this company, I thought, all right, they're immediately going to push this guy as a single star. He's going to be huge. He's going to be super over. Keith Lee looks like he's gotten a much better shape since he started in AEW. And their offense just is so fun to watch. They pair off of each other so well. That blend of power and athleticism. Both guys are super athletic, but it really allows both these guys to shine. Both are super charismatic. Both of these guys can cut promos. There's really no flaw in their game. The only way in which I could see this going sideways is if Keith Lee and Swerve have the match won, and Team Taz somehow opportunistically wins this, sneaks the W in, right? They kind of
sneaky.
They use that. I could see them like sneaking in and getting a quick pinfall after Keith Lee does the work or something, right? So I don't think any of us think the Jurassic Express are walking out of this match as champs, though.
Agreed.
SPD, did you pick Team Taz?
I did. I picked our guy, Powerhouse Hobbs. I know. That's another one of those bonds. I should have mentioned that one because you are the Team Taz mark, and you did not go with your Team Orange right there. So I think
not this time.
Everything you guys said about Keith Lee and Swerve is spot on, and I couldn't echo it enough. And I agree. It's a team that at first you're like, "What's going on?" and it's just working so well. That being said, if they win the belts, would love it. But I think you put them on Powerhouse Hobbs, Ricky Starks, homegrown AEW talent that have clearly have shown how much they've grown. And it would be one of those that's the wild card of a triple threat. Anything can happen. You can have a match won, and you can sneak in typical Sneaky Starks fashion. Sneaky Starks will start calling him that. If he does get that win, if he does get that pin, he's going to be changing his nickname to Sneaky Starks instead of his nickname now. So I think you have Hobbs with the belt on his shoulder with that snarl, and then you have they just your
Starks with 2 belts.
Yeah, and then Starks being the one that's spitting the game because Powerhouse Hobbs and Ricky Starks are 2 talents that we've wanted to see more and more and more on television.
That is true.
And so I think Jurassic Express's run, while it's been, I would say good, I don't want to say great because I feel like they kind of were daunted by it a little bit. So I feel like I wanted more tag team defenses because I'm a huge Luchasaurus fan. I'm a huge, obviously, Jurassic Express fan.
I think that this
and
could
this
be a
is
Jungle
going to
Boy
be
versus
where
Christian feud coming out.
this is where we're going to get. This is going to be the double whammy. So we're going to get the turn from Christian. We're going to get the loss of the belts. We're going to get the Powerhouse Hobbs winning and Ricky Starks. So this is going to be a lot of different things going on at once in this match. So I did pick Powerhouse Hobbs and Starks because
I could see that, man. I could see that. Like it's easy. Sometimes it's easy to get like caught up in the hot new thing, and certainly Swerve and Lee are the hot new thing. But in that instance, we're overlooking Hobbs and Starks, who are guys who we've been saying for a long time. These guys are stars. These guys feel like they need an opportunity to really break through. Starks presents himself like a star, dude. Every single time he's on the screen, that guy is really, really just – it feels like he's always on point.
Since day one.
So this could go either one of many different directions. I think this could be a lot of fun. I haven't seen a lot of 3-way tag matches, so I'm excited to see how these all work. All these guys all work off each other. I hope it doesn't get too chaotic. I hope that they allow themselves to have a little structure and a little time to breathe.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a lot of fun, dude. There's going to be a lot of fun offense in this one.
I feel like this one is definitely the most lock for a title change. That is most anticipated for a title change.
Agreed.
Before we wrap things up and talk about the main event, I got to ask, do you think we are going to see a surprise appearance by not a new signing? I'm talking about someone who's maybe been off TV for a while, a surprise appearance from someone. And if so, when and where? Because I'm looking at AEW's roster right now, and I'm looking at the rankings and the records. There are 2 talents on AEW's roster that have not wrestled in 2022. They have a 0-0 record. 1, Muro. 2, Brian Cage. Would it be now is the time, since Cage does live in Vegas? Would
Brian Cage come out and cost Team Taz the tag title?
No. We talked about
the longest feud in AEW
history. We closed the tag division segment, and this is a parlay.
No,
that's what he wants. He wants it to be during that match. He wants
Brian Cage comes back and costs Hobbs and Starks the titles. Let's do it.
Do you think we'll see a Cage or a Miro or someone we haven't seen on TV for a while? And if so, where?
I certainly think that a lot of people are hoping that Miro comes back sooner than later, man. I mean, Miro is
the real
guy
deal.
Who makes AEW feel more, especially with like his TNT title run was so
the
epic.
best TNT title run.
I can't disagree with you, man. It really was epic
against Brody Lee.
I don't know. This
Darby's was good too. This is a tough one.
Has so much going on, dude. I don't know if they need that. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. Bonds, do you foresee anybody coming back? Or
with what time?
I
know. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm asking you. Where?
Yeah, I don't see this. This card's already 15 pages long. You know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, I think they could do something cool just for a pop, but I don't really see anything like that happening.
Does it need it? I mean, I love swerves.
No.
I love, in 4 pay-per-views, I always love those swerves, those new feud building things. but I don't want anytime there is kind of a surprise like that. I want that person to be pushed, And I'm looking at our bingo card right now, and I'm like, okay, if you had someone come out and spoil Wardlow's celebration, I don't want that person to come back and then get squashed by Wardlow, because I want Wardlow to squash everyone. I don't want, let's say, maybe versus Adam Cole. I mean, if Adam Cole wins, someone comes out and
I think
that's the safest thing. I mean, same with Hangman Adam Page or CM Punk, which we're going to talk about next. Whoever wins that match, do you have Miro or Cage come back to be in the title picture just to lose again? Like, it's a fine line you got to walk.
It's a good question. It's one of those that's really hard to answer. And AEW always has an ace up their sleeve, so to speak, with Double or Nothing. They always have some like surprises in store for us. But I feel like, on Dynamite, we got to see Jeff Cobb and United Empire coming out and making a splash with that crossover of New Japan. So I think that they've already kind of dabbled in some of that leading into this pay-per-view. I think that we're going to see FTR potentially go against them. So I don't think they need it. I think that they're right. They're good. I think this is going to be one of those pay-per-views that's going to have plenty of stuff going on, and there's going to be a lot of buzz off the heels of this pay-per-view that I don't know if they need a big – and, dude, let's be real. AEW is well known for having a lot of splash debuts and things like that. Let's save that for when it can really feel important and stand out.
You don't want it to get lost in the shuffle of a jam-packed card. And that's one of those things that I loved how they did the Thunder Rosa title change was not on the pay-per-view, because with a pay-per-view so stacked, it could have got lost in the shuffle when it should have main evented as it did main event in convincing fashion in that steel cage. But speaking of main event, we got to talk it. Hangman Adam Page, the gold is on the line versus CM Punk, who has been in AEW, let's say, 8 months now, 9 months, and has really, worked his way to the top. He's been putting in the work, having some great matches, matches with a lot of different styles, a lot of different guys, and has really, paid his dues. He wasn't given that. He wasn't getting that Joker card going automatically, going to the top. So I have to give credit where credit is due. He paid his dues. He climbed the ranks, and he had some convincing wins and some awesome feuds with MJF, and so this is after Hangman's promo and CM Punk's, or the face-to-face that we got yesterday. I'm hooked. I'm all in for this match, because Hangman delivered one of the most heartfelt promos that I've seen him do, as he's known to do, almost essentially saying Team AEW versus you, this outsider. And so I know the crowd seems so split, with the CM Punk. It's so fun to chant the CM Punk chants and the cult of personality and all that. But Hangman, there was not we go back, roll back the clocks and watch some of our shows and talk about Hangman. There was no bigger pop than what Hangman was getting week in and week out when he was leading up to that title reign. No bigger pop. He was
agreed. Punk's getting quite the pops though recently, dude. Punk's definitely overshadowing him right now.
And
man.
So to me, you book this main event. There's no way one of the guys does not turn heel at Double or Nothing. In my opinion, you don't have a main event of a pay-per-view and then essentially you leave and CM Punk's calling to have him shake his hand and stuff like that. We're seeing that Hangman attitude, which we've, the cowboy shit attitude, almost lean towards that heel way, and CM Punk's is almost gone towards that heel way. I personally don't want to see, as the resident babyface, I don't want to see Hangman lean to that heel. The only way I'd want to see a heel champion is if CM Punk were to be the champion. So my pick is Hangman, because I can't imagine, even though his title reign has been absolutely fantastic,
it's been epic.
He has earned every single defense. Every single defense has been blood, sweat, and tears. Amazing. And so I'm not ready for that to end, because he is on top of his game and someone who's paid his dues and has earned, crawled and clawed to win that belt. It is going to take a lot, and I honestly don't think CM Punk has it in him right now to take it away from Hangman at this point.
If not CM Punk, who though? You know what I mean? If not CM Punk, who? And
Danhausen.
I picked Hangman to win too. This is one of those where I picked with my heart, my gut more than my head, because I do think that Punk's going to win this one. I feel like but I think the AEW could benefit from having CM Punk as champ. I think it could help them push over that
Sure.
million viewers mark.
This is
Punk's just a big star, dude. Oh, that could happen.
I called that before a few weeks ago. I said, Hangman going on, the person to dethrone the number one heel that needs to dethrone Hangman would be MJF. I'm all for pushing that homegrown stuff. Punk is 9 months in AEW. Like, yes, I know he's not a spring chicken, but I would love to see a heel Punk as a champ or a babyface Punk as a champ. But to me, keep pushing that, give all out, MJF wins the title and we go there. Man, I'm going to throw a margarita right in his damn face.
Well, Bonds, as a CM Punk slappy, I want to know, did you end up picking him to win this one?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And it's for what you said. Like, if not CM Punk, then who's going to beat Hangman, right? Like, Punk has been on an absolute terror since he joined AEW. I mean, he beat MJF. Like, MJF doesn't lose. You know what I mean? He's beaten everybody that's gotten in his way. He's done an awesome job. And I think that what you said about it being good for AEW, it makes sense. You know what I mean?
A mainstream star.
Yeah, it's mainstream. Like, it'll bring casual fans that maybe aren't going to watch every week. And if they know that CM Punk's the world champion, they're going to watch it every week. You know what I mean? And that's just kind of how it is. And that's nothing against Hangman. He's been absolutely perfect as a champ. He's everything you could have expected and wanted from what he's done as the first time champ he is, in his late 20s, early 30s, young guy, first chance at that big of an opportunity. Yeah. He's knocked it out of the park.
He has.
But losing the belt doesn't mean he's done. Losing the belt could change his personality. It could ignite that fire that he's had the last couple of weeks.
And we saw some fire in him.
We've seen fire, but imagine if he loses that belt to Punk after saying, I don't respect you. I don't have anything good to say about you. All that stuff. That would be really interesting. And CM Punk with the belt is even more interesting than CM Punk without the belt. And CM Punk without the belt is consistently one of the top 2 or 3 most interesting parts of AEW, no matter who he's feuding with, no matter what. So if you put the belt on that guy and you maybe turn him heel against Hangman, maybe he's the one that goes heel. They're showing all this stuff with Hangman kind of going a little dark side. Maybe Punk low blows him and wins the belt to end the pay-per-view. And that's how it goes.
I really struggled with this one. And I think that
it's tough.
I do think that you gotta have the belt on Punk at some point during his run here with AEW. And
for sure.
Early on in this feud, Punk, one of his first promos in this said, whether I win or lose, I'm going to give you a match of your lifetime, and da-da-da. Yeah. It felt like he was almost like bracing us for if he lost this match. But as this build has gone on, it certainly feels like Punk really could end up winning this one. And I think that, I would love to see a heel CM Punk as world champion. I think that he could cut some epic promos and could have a lot of that casual fan coming back into AEW. I think that Punk is one of the guys on this roster who is a bona fide superstar. There's no denying it. Yeah. He cuts promos like few can. But that when I talk about promos, Hangman's promo had me fired up, dude. And Hangman's not known for promos. His championship reign to this point, I feel like, has been really defined by his in-ring work. Yeah. And it hasn't been noteworthy from there
hasn't been a lot of meat on the bone.
Exactly. There hasn't been a ton of character work and epic feuds as far as back and forth confrontations on the mic. This is a different side of Hangman, and I think he really stepped up to the plate and he knocked it out of the park. This promo that we saw against Punk, that's what put me over the top. That's what made me feel like, okay, he's going to win. When he said that I'm going to defend all Elite Wrestling from you, that was one of those lines where I was like, damn, man, he hit it so hard.
Yeah.
I had to pick him for this one. That's it. If he wins, I'm with you, Bonds. Yeah. I don't know who dethrones him. I get MJF being a guy that Yeah,
That's
I
about
don't
it.
know, man. I don't know
But-
if MJF is going to be the guy. I don't. MJF versus Hangman doesn't feel like a feud that.
It needs to be set up. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
But-
maybe that happens, but
Man, I just think that putting that belt on Punk and doing it in a way where maybe he is defending, AEW from CM Punk, right? You have Punk like turn on him there, turn heel. You created a bigger star with Hangman Page. You created a bigger star. If you let's say he's beating Punk the whole match, he's having a great match. He's fired up. He's ready to go, and Punk low blows him and wins. I mean, you just created a character where it's like, oh man, like that's gonna be awesome. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think go either way again, like every single one of these matches. But
and that is the coolest thing about
It's-
Double or Nothing. I mean,
Yeah.
this pay-per-view has a lot of those matches where it's like, man, one way or the other, it's going to make sense. It's going to work. There's a lot of potential for seeds to be planted for great steps down the line. It's going to be a good one, man.
I can't even. I mean, this is such a jam-packed card, and I honestly, as much as I don't want to see Hangman lose, like a lot of these matches we picked, and it's fun putting our bingo cards and put together and all that.
Yeah.
It's like you, as a fan, it's a win-win. Crayfish, your card right here, you have 15 power bombs, and you'll see that we'll post all these on here. But a couple things, you and I are pretty close together on going with our hearts as well. And I did not pull a Sasha and Naomi, even though we would love to see them there. But real quick, as I'm gonna throw up these cards while we're discussing it, we'll go around and pick which match you want to open the show. So Bonds, what match do you want to open the show? Because that is a key role to really set the tone.
Bucks versus Hardys.
Oh man,
because whenever the Bucks open
Bucks
a show,
always open a show off.
whenever they open
They
a
do.
show, it's gonna be an awesome show. Every time they open a show, it's top notch. Every time they open a show, the show just it feels like everybody follows suit. They're like, oh man, like those guys put on a banger. We got to go put out a banger.
this
It
is
seems like
tough.
they set the tone. And I want these guys to go out and set the tone. And you got maybe the greatest tag team of all time with the greatest tag team of this generation going at it, starting the show with no gold on the line. To me, that just makes sense.
This is a tough question, SPD. What do you say?
I mean, since CM Punk has came, he's always, you open the show, cult of personality. I feel like you could go with this wasn't my first pick, but an Adam Cole opening. It's all the crowd would just go crazy, and that way, even though Adam Cole's going to win, and even though he's a heel, if he does win, it still gets you that fun pop to start the show.
Yeah, I agree.
Your pick is great, Bonds. I mean, my first choice was the trios tag team.
That was my other pick. Yeah.
But I think because we've seen time and time again Adam Cole open Dynamites because of his persona and entrance and crowd thing, like you talk about that's my pick is Adam Cole and Samoa Joe.
Yep. I think that I could see my two picks that I was going back and forth on, Adam Cole versus Samoa Joe. Adam Cole, he has that way of getting the entrance, gets the crowd going, and that match is going to be a banger. Or I could see the three-way tag match starting off the show. Either way, you can't go wrong. Honestly, there's so many matches on this card that could start the show off with a bang. I wouldn't be shocked if they ended up going Death Triangle, House of Black. There's a lot of different options that they could go in this one. Good question by you, though, SPD.
Thank you, guys. Well, man, I always love talking the pre-pay-per-view shows with you because it's jam-packed and it makes you really digest of what's going to happen because, I know our picks are locked, but even talking to you, I feel like I would change some if I could.
Oh God, yeah,
potentially. I know you, Crayfish.
So many. Oh my God, I'm so bad at that. I'm Mr. Flip flop. That's me, bro. I have a hard time putting it down in stone, and that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. That means that AEW has a lot of balance on their roster. Yeah. A lot of guys that feel like peers, feel like equals. Mm-hmm. They booked it in a way where there are only a few matches on this one that feel like, oh, no doubters, no brainers.
Right. Really, even those could be shocking.
Agreed. Totally agree.
there's always a no-brainer that doesn't go the way we think.
It's so true, dude.
You know?
It was really good having you back, Bonds. We had a lot
it's
of
great to
fun
be
tonight.
here, guys. It's great to see
Thanks a
ya.
lot for everybody in the chat who joined us. We had a lot of fun with you guys. Those of you guys who are listening to us after this one who go live, make sure you go get that Booking by Bonds towel, only $29.99.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Handmade.
Thanks so much for joining us. Cannot wait to talk to you guys post Double or Nothing because as SPD said, changing the landscape. There's going to be a lot of stuff that happens in this pay-per-view. We talked about it at length tonight, guys. Pivot one way or the other. A lot of storyline implications that could come of it. So good stuff, fellas. Make sure you join us next week. We are out.
Sponsored by Frito-Lay.